Today is the 11th day of December 2014, and I'm very happy to say that I have an old friend of many years to join us today, Bob. Bob,
Yes.
welcome.
Thank you, Narad. Thank you.
We usually begin by speaking of how you first heard of the mother, but maybe there's something even before that. Did your family know anything of Mother and Sri Aurobindo?
No, Narad. I found out when I was on the way to India at the age of 25. Before that, I was just, I grew up in the United States, and I'm from Appleton, Wisconsin, which is a middle-sized town, 200 miles north of Chicago. And
Rather Christian community?
very much. A lot of bars, a lot of churches. I was...
Go ahead. Yes.
Thank you.
That's fine.
All right. Yeah, I'm from a Catholic family. My mother was a good Catholic, a devout Catholic, and it helped me greatly. She used to drag me to church for 40 days of Lent, which is where I fell in love with the Gregorian chants. And I think she was the one who set me on the spiritual path, really. And I developed I went to Catholic grade schools, a Catholic high school. The first year of college was Catholic, and it was largely my mother's influence, and it helped me. It helped me greatly. I developed a tremendous love for Jesus.
And how did you decide to come to India?
Yes. Okay. I'm a child of the '60s. I got into big trouble with politics, sex, and drugs, and the whole thing. And I knew that I had to clean up my life, and I sensed that India was the place. A friend came and rescued me, and we made some money on the Great Lakes as merchant marines, and then left for India on Christmas Eve.
Of what year?
This would be end of 1970. Okay. Then we went to London, spent a few days, went to see a couple friends in Paris for a week. Then I was hitchhiking outside the Palace of Versailles. We were going south to get warm. I was picked up by a man who said, "I'm practicing the yoga of Sri Aurobindo." He took us to his house in southern France. And there I was first exposed to the writings of Sri Aurobindo. And I admired him. I read the simple books, Basis of Yoga, the Mother, things like that. It wasn't quite my time. I didn't like Sri Aurobindo's terminology. All this talk about overmind and supermind and illumined mind. I read The Mother and I thought, well, it's all very nice, but there are too many sweet words, too much light and love, and I wasn't ready, Narad.
You know, the poet A.E. complained about similar things.
Yes.
Too many adjectives.
Yeah.
In Savitri especially.
Oh, yes. Oh, sure.
And Sri Aurobindo said, I've seen it. What else can I write?
Yeah, beautiful.
I can only write what I've seen.
That's the way. Yeah.
So you're on your way. You're southern France
Okay,
now.
I'm in southern France. And there I met somebody who had been to Pondicherry and had seen the Mother. And he simply said, when you reach India, you go to Pondicherry and see the Mother. And I liked this man and respected him, a little older than I was, but a very intelligent, perceptive man. So I made a mental note, you see the Mother. It took me 6 months to reach India. I first went to North India. I was in Rishikesh for 3 months, practicing Raja Yoga in a Raja Yoga ashram. It was very good for me. It cleaned up my mind. And while I was there, I stopped in one day at the Sri Aurobindo Library just outside of Rishikesh and bought some small books of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. And then the time was right. Reading Sri Aurobindo for me was an experience. It was the living words. I knew that this man had the truth. At that time, I didn't even know if God existed, Narad. And that was for me a very big question. I remember one day after so much meditation, at night I went to eat with my friend Bill. And I said, Bill, I am ready to follow this life of self-improvement. I'm going no matter what to climb the holy mountain, but I would like to know if somebody is up there at the top and if he can help me. Then I'm reading The Riddle of This World by Sri Aurobindo. He says, it is the testimony of many seekers who have tried to find the divine. And they have been not hundreds, but thousands. That he is there. And that is why there exists the yoga. And this made great sense to me. And suddenly I said, yes, all the people I respect, who I think would not tell a lie, they say that God exists. And it broke down all of my defenses. And I said, yes, he must exist. And I was euphoric for about 2 days. And then it suddenly struck me that although I believed mentally that he existed, I hadn't had the experience.
Yes.
And then I read The Yoga and Its Objects, another small early book of Sri Aurobindo. And it led me into a very deep experience, a descent of the divine power, which lasted for 3 days. And at the end of it, I had had my own experience. I knew that God existed. I have never doubted it. It was a gift from Sri Aurobindo.
You haven't mentioned Mother yet,
Okay.
but I want to ask you, did you see any photos of her when you were there?
Sure. I even had one which I put up to look at every day. The head of the Sri Aurobindo Library near Rishikesh is Ravi Bansal.
I knew Ravi very well.
He sold me more books. He gave me pictures of Sri Aurobindo and Mother. Yes. And one day he said, I am going down to Pondicherry. I'm going to see the Mother and the ashram. You want to come with me? Yes, I want to come. The Mother was alive. I had read by that time what Sri Aurobindo had said about her. Sri Aurobindo highly respected the Mother. Is that an understatement?
Yes, it is.
He spoke so highly of her, and I thought so highly of him, that I knew she must be special. And so I came down here specifically to meet the Mother.
What day did you arrive?
I came on November 4th, but I was a little bit afraid. I saw all the pictures of the Mother on the wall. Queenly, imperial, grand, majestic. I was afraid of her, Narad. I thought she might just be a big ego, a calculating ego. a lady who was a skilled administrator, who knew how to put people in their place and keep them happy there. I did not want to be put anywhere. I wanted to be free. I was afraid that she was just a good lady running a good show. And I didn't want any part of it. And at the same time, I knew that in order to remain in the ashram, one must make a full surrender to her. But it was 2 weeks before I gathered up enough courage to ask to see her. And Madhav Pandit told me, it's too close now to the November 24th darshan. I'll schedule you for afterwards. I said, yes, that's fine. 24th darshan comes. I'm a little off that day. Restless, listless. And I showed up too late. There's a crowd of about 1,000 gathered around 5 o'clock. I stood at the edge. We passed the dispensary. But then, when she came out onto the terrace balcony, there was a hush over these 1,000 people, and all of the mumbling stopped. And it was impressive. It was very awesome. All of the hands went up. All of the devotion was there. And she was there, slow and dignified and very wonderful. And slowly she made her way to the end of the balcony and then back. It took.
Did you know the moment when she looked at you?
Well,
You
no.
recalled it? No.
I was too far away
Okay.
in so many ways. When I got back to Galkond and sat in a chair, I realized I had been impressed, but not moved enough to know that she was the one for me. So I had to wait until I was scheduled to meet her, which was 3 weeks later, and I had a lot of time to think. But on the day itself, December 12th, it was one of these beautiful December days with the blue sky and the white cumulus clouds and the sun in the sky. And I was sat on the terrace outside of her room in a very good condition. And I said, Bob, you're 25 years old. You're not married. You've been through hell and beyond, and yet somehow you have survived. You're a lucky boy. You would like to find someone who embodies all of the qualities that you want to believe in and that you want to live by. And you hope it is her. But it might not be. She may not be the one for you. But that's okay too. The good things don't come easy. If she's the one, you're blessed. If she's not the one, you will just move on, and that's okay too. So I was in a good condition, Narad. Then I put myself towards the end of the line, because I like to get prepared, you know.
Yes, I know.
And the line moved slowly. But as we approached the room, it was like entering a powerful electromagnetic field. There was some force in the air, which was strong and gripping and solid. But it felt okay. I didn't feel that. I was a little bit dazed, I think, yes. And my mind was definitely slowed down. But I thought I was in control of it. and everything seemed okay, and there wasn't anything that struck a little fear in the heart. No, it was peaceful energy. When I got in the room, I was surprised by how small it was. And kind of that yellow gold carpet, and then big windows that are screened and look out over the samadhi and give kind of your wonderful service tree, giving kind of a forest atmosphere.
I remember one time that I told you of an experience, and you said, that's the same feeling I have had, and that there were no walls in the room.
Yes.
It was a room without walls.
Yeah.
It was so vast.
Yeah.
So you entered.
So I entered, and then I turned my head and looked at her. And she was so small, Narad.
Yeah.
She was only 5'2" when she was standing, and she was all hunched over. And she was just skin and bones.
Yeah.
Couldn't have weighed much. And her skin was all white, like the sun had not touched it in years. And she looked very frail. I felt she was entirely vulnerable, that she was just open, at the mercy. But, of course, she was protected by this powerful, awesome energy that was everywhere and was within her. But otherwise, she tugged the sentiments of my heart. She was just so fragile, but somehow exquisite. And she was looking with real attention at each person who came before her with a little bouquet of flowers. And she would receive them and then look into their eyes with tremendous concentration and penetration, but also in a kindly way. And some people couldn't take it, and they scampered away after 10 seconds. And then there were others who spent 10 seconds, 20, 30, and then they left. And I waited until my time came. And when it was my time to turn to her, I looked at Champaklal, the bearded attendant at her side. And he flashed such a huge smile. And I smiled in the same big way, you know? It was like welcome. It was like the opening. And then I knelt down before the mother and gave my flowers to her. And I looked into her eyes. And then I got lost, Narad. It was like looking into a luminous blue sky. And as I looked, I could feel that my mind was expanding. My whole consciousness is just widening, is going into this beautiful sky. And my whole body became relaxed and lighter. We carry around us, due to the power of our ego, a great residual tension in us. And somehow, by the power of her keys, she removed it. And so I felt myself just becoming light and buoyant and free. And meanwhile, my mind is just, and little ideas are trying to intrude. And I thought, no, now is not the time. we're not here to think. And so I went out and out. And that was when I realized that there was no walls back there, Narad. There was no horizon.
Yeah.
As far as I could look, she was way, way beyond that. I had no way of looking into wherever she was. But however far I could look, that's how far she was taking me. And there was a certain quiet joy and elation in whatever she was doing to me. And then it struck me after probably 2 minutes of this, that as I was looking at her, so she was looking at me. And as soon as I became aware of that, I became aware of a stream of energy coming from her eyes into mine. And she was pouring into me her pure love, the nectar of her love. I could feel it, not like a radiation, but like a stream coming through her eyes into mine and going down into my heart, which is just like this, you know. It's like the chalice ready to receive.
You might have been in front of her for 2 minutes.
Oh yeah, just looking into her took a couple of minutes. And then she started pouring herself into me. And I just looked and looked. And I could feel my heart being filled with love. And the most beautiful thing is that it was not impersonal love. It wasn't a universal love. I felt that in the few minutes we had been together, that she knew me. She probably knew me better than I know myself, Narad, all of us. And I felt that she liked what she saw. It meant a great deal to me. And she was pouring into me her love. So, as you can imagine, right after maybe a minute, my chalice just got all filled up. And I could feel it tipping over. And tears started coming to my eyes. And for some reason, I did not want to cry. And so I closed my eyes and bent my head forward to compose myself. And suddenly,
You were kneeling at her feet.
I was kneeling at her
And you
feet.
bent down.
And I bent my head forward.
Yeah.
And she put her hand on my head. She held it there for about 20 seconds. And there was nothing special about it. No increase of energy. No electrical lights. But it was her hand. And she'll be there forever. At the end of that time, I had composed myself. I looked up into her eyes. Nothing but the same thing. Pouring into me, her love. Pouring. And I just tried to keep myself open to it. After 4 or 5 minutes altogether, I would say, the first concrete thought came to me. And it was, Bob, you've been here for about 5 minutes. You're in a queue. There's
I've been there.
2 or 3 people behind you.
Time to go.
You're holding up the show, and it's time to go. Right? I look into her eyes. Not a weep. Not a ripple. Pouring. It was as if she was telling me without words, I have all day. This is why I live. I live to share my love. I am so happy that you could come here and to receive my love. Narad, I had gone in afraid that she would take me and try to put me somewhere. And instead, she's giving herself to me with no strings attached. At that point, thank you, Narad. At that point, my chalice did run over. Tears came to my eyes. I could feel them rolling down my cheeks. And I didn't even blink. I just looked at her through these tears. And suddenly, for the first time, there's this sweet little smile, you know? And then she gave me a little bouquet of flowers. And I got up. And I walked out of the room like the man on the moon. And I weighed about half as much as we weigh on Earth. I was just bouncing along. And I bounced out of the room and I bounced down the stairs. And the experience lasted about 3 days before it wore off. And during that time, all the same stuff happened, Narad. But it had a little deeper meaning. And I was quieter and could listen to people say their stupid stuff. And somehow reach a deeper moment with them. But to conclude, I was lucky to have found someone whom I could trust. Someone who cared for me. Someone who showed me what it is possible for a human being to become. And Since then, I have been here, Narad, trying to be a little more like her and to serve her as a way of saying thank you for all that you have given me and all that you give every day. That is my story, Narad.
Well, I have many things more to ask. What were your nights like after you met her? Those 3 days especially,
Yeah.
those nights.
I don't remember. I'm not a night
It's like
person.
a blank.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm bad that way. When I go to sleep, I just conk out. Yeah, I mean, it's a really sad case.
Did you have any experience of Sri Aurobindo in those months?
No, I've never in any vision seen him. I've just, I guess, felt him. And I've always been so grateful, and I've tried to keep in touch with him by reading his words. He was the first person who made the contact for me.
Did you get a private interview with Mother at any time?
No. I saw her once more. It was on my next birthday. But I only saw her 2 times face to face. And otherwise I went to, I think, 7 of the darshans. And on some of those darshans I was able to connect. And then, Narad, I felt, I think, like everyone does. She's up there looking down at us. And everybody feels, oh my God, she's looking at me. You know, and it's the most wonderful thing on earth. And God knows what she's looking at, Narad, because her eyesight wasn't really so good.
But the divine
But
sees us.
yeah, but she was contacting our souls.
Yeah.
And I had some beautiful moments in which she just, poof, you know, opened up the heart. You know what she could do.
What work did you first take up?
Yeah.
Tell us the whole background
Well,
of
all right.
how you began
Yeah.
to be established in the ashram,
Okay.
where you lived.
Yeah. My first work was with Ivan and Maidananda, who ran a journal called Equals One.
Yes.
I was put in touch with them through Maud Smith, who worked for them.
Yes.
So she invited me, and I received the okay of the mother. And that lasted for about 1.5 years. And then I joined the archives, the ashram archives.
What year was that?
That would be early in 73. I worked for Iman and Maidananda for 1.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I found someone to take my place. Then I went, and I was one of the first workers at the archives. And that would
With
be
Jayantalal?
with
Through
Jayantalal. Yeah, it was mostly Peter and I working all day, Narad. And the thing to be done then was to complete the volume 27, the supplement. And then together we made the index. I was pulled into the work as an index checker. So I've checked a lot of indexes. And then we collated the cards, and then I typed them up, and then we proofread them together. And we'd spend 9 or 10 hours a day doing this stuff.
Before computers.
This is all before computers.
Yes.
But somehow all you need is a couple of people, dumb young boys. And in 2 years we had we had really quite a wonderful index. This volume 30, index and glossary. That was the first big work, Narad. And then what happened was that Nolinida gave us his treasure trove of manuscripts of Sri Aurobindo. And that was probably in 73 or 74.
Oh my.
Okay? And then it took Peter about 2 years to organize those, simply to organize them and set them in place. And we found that there was a lot of things which had not been published. And then in 1975, Satprem suddenly quit and went away. So Peter became editor of the Bulletin. I took over in 1980. But he started putting some unpublished writings of Sri Aurobindo for 5 years. Then he turned that work over to me, the Bulletin work. But also, he and Jantilal decided to take out the Archives and Research Journal twice a year. And then we had 100 pages of unpublished stuff. And that got published for maybe from it ended in 1994. It started in 1997. So it went a lot of years, and by that we'd collected so much material. And then Jantilal decided to issue an expanded complete works of Sri Aurobindo. And Jantilal had been the one to organize the Sri Aurobindo Bicentenary Library. That was the first collected works. Okay? And now for about 20 years almost, we've been working to finish up the complete works of Sri Aurobindo. It's taken us much longer than we had expected. But the trustees have been gracious and people have been patient, so that we've had enough time to do the work well. And we still have 2 volumes to put through the press. When those volumes are through the press, we'll have 36 volumes of Sri Aurobindo's texts. And they are there now as the foundation for humanity, which can use them. We've done the best we can, Narad.
I want you to tell me that wonderful story about you taking your mother to meet Nolini.
Yeah, my mother loved me very much. So she came to visit every couple of years. And the first year I wanted her to meet Nolini, who was the man I probably respected the most. So I introduced my mother to Nolini, and he's so gracious. And he tells my mother, oh, your son is one of our favorite children. And my mother snapped back, well, he's one of my favorite children too.
Thank you. I never forgot it.
It was rights of possession, Narad. I will tell you another good story. Maybe a decade later, my brother Tom brought my mother here. Okay? And on the first day, they go to the Samadhi with me. And my mother, as usual, stands at the edge at a respectable distance. My brother Tom stands with her. I go up to the Samadhi and put my head on it and do my pranam. Second day, my brother Tom comes forward to the Samadhi and reads the prayer inscribed on the side. Okay? On the third day, I put my head on the Samadhi. My brother Tom kneels down and he puts his head on the Samadhi. Okay? My mother, who's a good Catholic, is just standing back there seeing this. That evening we go out as usual for supper. And as usual, we ordered beer. I shouldn't be telling this because ashramites are not supposed to drink beer. But this was in the old days.
And it was good beer.
And it was good beer. So the Kingfisher came on, and the glasses got poured. And my brother Tom lifts the glass and says, "I propose a toast to the mother." And I looked at my own mother, and on her face was a look of alarm and dismay. Right?
Because it wasn't that mother.
Because she was losing another one of her sons. And I said, "Let us make it a toast to all mothers." And then we laughed and toasted. And anyway, my brother Tom was here for 10 days. Then he went back with my mother and immediately got swallowed up. And he never even sent me a thank you note saying, "I loved being here." And so none of my family has bought this line. And I have not tried to persuade them because it's so darn tough once you get in on it, that unless your heart is somehow pulled here, there's no sense in leaving the religion you're born into.
Yeah.
Yes. So my case was different. I had to move on. But their case is that they've all stayed with the faith, and I'm sure it's sustaining them.
And their cup can also runneth over.
Yes, that's right. Everyone's time comes, Narad.
Yes. And Bob, you said you were very close to Nolini.
Yeah.
Could you tell us some of your remembrances of him?
All right. He was the man that I respected the most. And perhaps for that reason I didn't often go to him. I'm one of these fellows who likes to make his own way. And I always thought, if you go to Nolini and he says something, well, you better do that thing. And so I only went to him one time. I was involved in a collective meditation with Ivan. And after a couple times, I became ill at ease. I went to him and said, "What about this meditation with Ivan?" And he said, "If you feel like that, better not." The problem with these collective meditations is that it may mix the influences. Always the person who's leading the meditation, their influence can come in, or because of the group, there'll be a mixture in the atmosphere. So if you feel as you do, maybe it's better not to do it. And so I did stop that. Then, after a few months, I worked up my courage and asked him if I could join his French class, which was on Sunday mornings at 9 o'clock. And for years, I was a member of Nolini's French class. And I called it Nolini class because I was there to learn Nolini. And I learned very little French. And we would have 1 week of French, and then 1 week he would read out his latest paper in English. Okay. But for me, it was a wonderful experience, simply to be in his presence with about 50 other people. And he would come in promptly at 9 o'clock, sit on the dais, and then put on his spectacles, and then the great master would either read lines from Savitri or have someone else read them. And then the next week he would read out one of his papers in his sonorous voice.
And did you know Narad Baran?
Oh yeah, I had a lot of contact with Narad.
Because of the archives.
Yeah, because of the archives. What I liked about Narad was that he was an honest, humble man without pretensions. I saw that when he was with Champaklal, he was absolutely second dog. And people followed around Champaklal without even looking at Narad. I saw this over and over. It didn't bother Narad Baran. He didn't have that kind of ego. Narad Baran means a great deal to me. He is my favorite writer, bar none. I think his 12 years of Sri Aurobindo is a masterpiece. I think his memorable contacts with the mother is more episodic and not quite up to that level, but it's excellent. All of the things he's written about sadhaks, all of the way that he has his correspondence just opens a window for all of us. And his talks with Sri Aurobindo, which are now in 2 volumes, he's the one who recorded the talks that they had with Sri Aurobindo 1939, 1940, 1941. That's about when they left off. Anyhow, his contribution to our life is very great.
What was Parani doing in the evening talks? I thought
Parani,
was he writing things?
Yeah,
down?
see, Parani, his evening talks cover the period 1923 to 1926. He also has some later talks, some of which he stole from Narad Baran, right? And then he recorded a few of his own. But his real contribution is 1923 to 1926. And Parani has the fullest record there is, and it's a gold mine. It's very worthwhile gold mine. The mother had reservations about it. We find that in the agenda. Some things were flat. All of that is true. Nevertheless, it's revelatory for us, and at least I am grateful for it. And I say the same about Narad Baran's talks with Sri Aurobindo in the early 40s.
So did you meet with him about...
I never took a class with him.
No, but about any points in the archives?
Yeah.
For,
yeah, he was always really...
Savitri or...
No. He was always very kind to me and invited me to his birthday parties, which, as you know, were most wonderful because he had the best tea in town. Yeah. Right? Huh? His friend Ranjit would bring down the choicest brews from Darjeeling, and wow, could he brew a cup of coffee, a cup of tea. Yeah. It was just the best. And yeah, I wish I had gotten closer to him. But anyhow, I'm more of a loner.
What are your remembrances of Champaklal?
Champaklal is the one with whom I grew closest.
Oh.
It happened because one day Roshan came to me and said Champaklal is having difficulty reading Sri Aurobindo's handwriting. Would you help out? We are editing a new edition of Champaklal Speaks. But we want to add more letters of Sri Aurobindo, and we're doubtful about some of the readings. Okay? So then, in the course of the next couple of years, she would feed me the letters of Sri Aurobindo, and I typed them up. And then I would go every week and sit in his room, and he would look through them with grateful appreciation. So I had the benefit of sustained contact for many hours with Champaklal. And I have great respect for him, Narad. When I saw him, he was observing Mona, silence. All of our communication was, he would write things down on a chit pad and show them to me. Okay? And then he was wonderful with his gestures. And then Roshan was there to help interpret. But he had composure. When I came into his room, he would normally be sat on the floor, on this soft carpet in his room, with nothing but a loincloth on, yes? And always it seemed to me that about 3/4 of his consciousness was withdrawn, was back here, in the presence of the mother. And 1/4 was focused outward to do the work. And that 1/4 was very careful and meticulous. This was a guy who worked slowly. But everything that you did with him was so meaningful that the time passed like magic. And he showed me how to slow down. He showed me what a real sadhak is. It means to live the inner life so that you're always in Mother's presence. And only a part of your consciousness is out in front to do the work. And that work you do slowly, carefully, and well. He was the exemplar of that, Narad. Yes.
I want to ask you a difficult question.
Sure.
You were here on the 17th when Mother left.
Yeah.
Can you speak a little bit about it?
Yeah. I was staying at Galkand. I went with others and stood in the queue.
Yeah.
When I saw her, she was in the meditation hall, reclining on the couch, with her hands like this, entirely white, head down. And my feeling was, there's not a drop of blood in the body. She has given every last drop of her blood for us. And I was happy for her that she no longer had to suffer for us. Because the year before that, my morning meditation was I would sit underneath Duman's room or outside the bulletin office and just listen to her interact with Pranab. And listen to her cries of agony, which we could hear any time you went.
Always we could hear it.
Always we could hear it. Any time of the day you went, you knew that she was up there suffering for us. And when I saw her, my thought was, good, now she doesn't have to suffer anymore. That is it, Narad.
Tell us a bit about the ashram. What was the ashram like when you came?
Sure. It was a small, close-knit family in which everyone knew everyone else. And there was a lot of silence, but also a lot of communication. And most of the people that ate at the dining room, it was just a small family. You were interested in others and they were interested in you. And you didn't have to do a lot of dodging of cars or getting out of the way of motorbikes. You know, there was mostly bicycles slowly pedaling around. And many of the tzaddiks wore kurta and dhoti, and others were dressed in kurta and pajamas. And the white dress was the way that people dressed. The trousers came later. The shorts were always there too. People wore a lot of shorts.
We ate in silence in the dining room.
I ate pretty much in silence in the dining room. Yes, I used to eat in the silence room. So, especially while Mother was there was such a concentrated atmosphere that no matter where you were, your mind was always gravitating back towards that center spot. When you walked in the morning, when you went out at night, it was all she. After 74, more and more, we entered into the world, and the world entered into us. And the ashram got put on the tourist map, and then many persons came to see this place. And many more people from the town started coming because they recognized that she was the mother and that she could help them. So everything changed. There was a rapprochement with the people in the town. A lot more local people came. A lot more tourists. It's just been building up and up and up in Narad. So that now it seems to have gone too far, but we know nothing.
Oh, how true. Could you tell us a little bit about when you and Lilo started the project of the flower book?
Yeah. It got bounced around from hand to hand. It was a project in, the first book was the one that you did with Richard.
And Mary Helen.
Yeah. And I'm not sure how it came to us. But Mandakini was working on it for a while. And then she went back to the U.S. and to France. And so it somehow fell onto Lilo's shoulders. And she slowly took it up and learned how to use a camera. And we would cycle out either once or twice a week for years to Oroville, taking the back roads, and spend the morning photographing flowers. Okay? And she was the photographer, and I held the
equipment,
the reflectors. Huh? If there's any light on those flowers, it's my light. Right. She was just clicking the camera. And
this is, by the way, the 2-volume edition, The Spiritual Significance of Flowers.
Yeah.
And there were many, many color photographs in that volume.
Yeah. And the most beautiful thing is that Narad agreed to work on the all the botanical stuff. And you obviously put in umpteen hours in order to get it right. And of course it's never right. But you do your best.
Well, it's always changing.
So there we are.
And that's a result of our computer age.
Yeah.
See, just take a moment. In the days when these great plant explorers, one would be in Brazil, one would be in India, one would be in another place in Asia, and they may all have named the same plant.
Ah, yes. Ah, yes.
Only through computers and the age of computers was all this knowledge brought together, and the provenance goes to the person who first named it. And that's why all the change is in botanical
Oh,
names.
oh,
It's not
oh.
anything arbitrary at all.
Oh, yes.
And so the Missouri Botanical Garden has millions
Oh, yes.
of synonyms for
Oh, yes.
all these original, the nomenclature of
Oh, I see.
plants. Yes.
That's interesting.
So that's why it keeps changing, still changing.
Yeah, it is.
There are no more chrysanthemums. They're all under a different name now, but we all call them chrysanthemums.
Why, I mean,
and I love chrysanthemum,
Of
the
course.
name. Anyway, you must have had a good taste of Oroville, too.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about it?
We received deluxe treatment. At noontime, we would go to different communities and get invited for lunch and rest afterwards. We made many friends there, and they were good to us. They opened their gardens, they opened their houses. And there have been problems, the ashram in Oroville. But Lilo and I always got treated we always got treated wonderfully well. And we met many Orovillians and had and have just the highest respect for their experiment, which is wider than the ashram experiment. But it's her project, Narad, and shall be fulfilled.
It shall be fulfilled.
Yeah.
Yes. Now that she is no longer in the body, can you share about how you feel her?
Yeah. I think that we must approach her according to our nature. I have the nature of a bhakta. My approach is through devotion and love, and also through service. So it's by cultivating love for her that I have grown inwardly in order to feel her presence more closely. There are others of an intellectual caste who I think learn by expanding their mental horizons, comprehending Mother and Sri Aurobindo, and widening, getting more universal and larger, detached and equal. And of course we need all of these qualities. And finally there are these introspective types who look at themselves a lot, And this also, I think, is part of our work, is to see how we're doing. We're all out there alone now. There's no mother to write to. We get help through their words, but finally each person has to try it out. There should be a feedback mechanism whereby we see what happened when we acted a certain way. If it wasn't quite right, we correct ourselves. But anyhow, in this way we build up a repository of experiences and become more skillful at interacting with the world. So each person has their own way, but I believe it is very important to take responsibility for your own life. The mother wants our collaboration. We are not automatons. We're not just supposed to sit back and she's going to spoon feed us. She wants us sitting up at the table to eat with her. She wants us to get out on the floor and dance. So let us do that. At the same time, trying to retain her inwardly. And in that way we will learn a new way to work, which is more conscious and also will make less mistakes. Finally, our growth is not the result of our personal effort, but the result of opening up to her, consciously by calling her, by looking to her. And then if we are ready, if we are pure and open enough, then she pours into us her presence and power. And that transformative force is actually what does the work in us and changes us. It's a very slow process. We must look at ourselves and assess what's going on. It is not usually dramatic, at least nowadays. But you have to look to see if in the long run you're doing a little better than you did last month or than you did last year. And if the answer is yes, you have made some progress. And then you raise your hands and you just say thank you. And as we may wish that we could go faster, but the truth is it's very slow, because their work is down there in the physical. It's been there a long, long time. You don't have a lot of experiences down at that level, when you have a lot of need for purification. So largely we're finding out how our nature truly is, and then offering it up for change. We're trying to lessen our ego so that we act in a manner which is less ego-filled. And more and more we want to receive the inspiration from her.
And just in closing, would like to touch on Savitri.
Yeah.
Has it been one of the great books for you, or have you experienced other books of Sri Aurobindo?
Yeah. For me, it's the greatest. It just... There's nothing that matches it in any way, Narad, whether from the angle of philosophy or psychology or bhakti or anything. In the life divine, it's all laid out there as far as possible for the mind of humanity. And likewise with the synthesis, we have so many clues about how to proceed in the practice of yoga. But the feeling, the imagery, the description of the landscape of this world and all of the worlds, and of God and of them, is in Savitri. So that is the great book. Sure. My pleasure to share, Narad.